All right, so today we're diving into this incredibly fascinating topic, the impact of AI on the adult industry. I mean, wow, who would have thought that artificial intelligence would, shake things up in that world?
Right? Like, I can't even wrap my head around how that's happening. So what exactly is AI doing to traditional porn stars?
Great question. I think the first thing to understand is that AI can analyze tons of data to create personalized content. Imagine, like, a custom video tailored just for you. It's not just random stuff that you find online anymore. It's like having your own personal adult movie tailored to your preferences.
Whoa, wait. So it's like Netflix, but for adult content? But with AI, it could know what you're into before you even do?
Exactly. It's kind of wild, right? So think of it like this. You know how Tinder matches you based on profiles and interactions? AI in the adult industry could do something similar by learning user behaviors and preferences over time. The experience becomes almost intimate because it feels more personal.
That's super interesting. But isn't that, like, kind of creepy too? I mean, it's almost like having someone know your deepest secrets, but instead, it's just an algorithm? What happens to the actual performers then?
You're right. It does raise some ethical questions, doesn't it? Performers might feel threatened, especially if AI can produce content without human involvement. For example, there are already deepfake technologies that can create convincing adult content with the faces of real actors. It's a double-edged sword.
Whoa, deepfakes? Isn't that like the thing we saw in that viral video with the celebrity? My friend was telling me about it, and wow, it was so convincing. But isn't there a risk that, this could totally mess up the industry standards or something?
Spot on. It's like a digital Wild West out there. Imagine the chaos of having, let's say, celebrities' faces plastered onto content without their consent. It could be really damaging. And, quite frankly, it could devalue the hard work of actual performers.
Ugh, that sounds so unfair. I mean, these performers put their heart and soul into their work, right? So how are they coping with that? I can't even think about how terrifying it must be.
Well, some are taking a stand and using it to their advantage. They're embracing social media and creating a fan base directly. Platforms like OnlyFans have exploded because it gives them full control over their content. They're leveraging technology while retaining their agency, which is empowering.
OMG, that makes total sense. So it's like they're fighting back with their own version of cyber technology? Like an Avengers-style alliance against AI? That's amazing.
Haha, yes, the adult Avengers. But the reality is, while some performers are thriving, others are definitely struggling to adapt. It's a mixed bag. Just think about how rapid technology changes. It's like the difference between flip phones and smartphones.
Ah, that makes me think. I mean, remember when texting was just a simple LOL? Now we're sending emojis and GIFs, right? It's kind of like the adult industry is going through this similar evolution.
Exactly. So everyone needs to stay ahead of the curve, which can sometimes feel overwhelming, especially for those who have been in the industry a long time. Just like any other career, adaptation is critical.
Wow, I seriously never thought about it that way. So do you think this will change the landscape of relationships too? Like, does AI mean that people will connect through virtual experiences more than real life ones?
That's a fascinating perspective. I do think it could impact real-life connections in varied ways. On one hand, people might wish for deeper emotional bonds and look for those experiences. On the other hand, some could lean into virtual relationships for convenience. It's a mixed bag.
Oh man, the future is just gonna be so wild, right? I can't imagine. You know, it actually makes me wonder if we'll see virtual dating or something next. Like, what if AI creates virtual friends?
Haha, totally. We might have AI-fueled virtual dating coaches. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be, like, vibing with digital avatars while critiquing our personalities based on algorithms. It's wild to think about.
Wow, okay, that actually sounds like a sci-fi movie plot. AI love, the future of dating. I'd totally watch that.
All right, we're diving deep today into something that, well, let's just say it's not usually dinner table conversation.
Yeah, not exactly.
India's adult entertainment industry.
Yeah.
We've got excerpts from this honestly fascinating study called India's Adult Entertainment Industry: History, Law, Tech, and Stigma.
Yeah, history, law, tech, and stigma. They really covered it all.
And that's what we're going to do too. We'll unpack it all. History, the legal side, how tech is shaking things up, the whole picture.
It's a complex landscape for sure.
But, why should our listeners care about this? It's niche, right?
Right, but it's a window into so much more. Think about it, cultural attitudes in India, the impact of globalization and technology on a sensitive industry, the ethical questions we're all facing in this crazy, rapidly changing world.
Yeah, okay, I see that. So let's start at the beginning, like way back, before the internet. The study mentions early Indian films.
Oh yeah, this is interesting. Think Bollywood.
Bollywood, really?
Well, specifically mythologicals from the 1930s. These films often drew on stories from Hindu epics, but with a sensual, even erotic subtext. Pretty bold for that era.
Whoa, so adult themes were already woven into mainstream entertainment. But then the internet exploded. I mean, that must have been the biggest game changer, right?
Absolutely. Production, distribution, consumption, everything transformed practically overnight. This relatively localized industry suddenly had a global reach.
But didn't that create some serious tension with India's laws around adult content? The study mentioned those are, well, pretty strict.
They are. India has laws restricting explicit material, but the internet made enforcement incredibly difficult.
So, how does that even work?
That's where it gets tricky. It's a constant legal tightrope walk. You have censorship debates, freedom of expression arguments, the struggle to regulate this online space. It's ongoing.
Real tug of war, huh? And ethically, I mean, there must be so many gray areas.
Oh yeah, tons. For example, how do we protect performers' rights and well-being in this digital age? Issues like consent, fair pay, safe working conditions, those get even more complicated with online platforms and international audiences.
Right, it's not just a local issue anymore. And technology is not slowing down. The study talks about streaming services, even VR. Are those having a big impact?
A huge impact. Streaming platforms open up access to content in a way that was never possible before. And VR, that's a whole other level. Talk about immersive experiences, blurring the lines between fantasy and reality.
So we're talking about a whole new set of ethical and legal challenges, then.
Absolutely. This is uncharted territory in a lot of ways.
And it's easy to get lost in the tech and legal stuff. But we can't forget the human side. The stigma around adult entertainment must be really tough for performers to deal with.
Yeah, the stigma is definitely real. It often leads to isolation, mental health struggles, difficulty building relationships outside the industry.
That's heavy. Are there any resources like support systems to help performers navigate all that?
Thankfully, yes. There are some amazing organizations and individuals working hard to provide support, advocacy, and resources, addressing mental health needs, helping performers deal with the stigma, that kind of thing.
That's good to hear. So with all this in mind, the history, the legal battles, the tech revolution, what's the big takeaway for our listeners?
I think it shows how complex and dynamic this industry is. It's a microcosm of how technology and globalization are shaking up traditional industries, forcing us to grapple with some really tough ethical questions about censorship, freedom, and what work will look like in the future.
Yeah, it makes you think, that's for sure. If there's one thing I want our listeners to walk away with, it's this. What will this landscape look like as technology just keeps advancing? How will it intersect with our evolving social norms and values?
Yeah,
It's a big question,
it really is.
a lot to consider.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep digging into those questions right here on The Deep Dive.
Looking forward to it.